For those of you, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everybody. It's wonderful to be able to see you in this time of isolation, in this time when we can't get together physically. At least Allah has provided us a methodology for getting together virtually. I remember when I was much younger and I first met my teacher, Muhammad Bawa Muhaiyaddeen. I lived approximately 70 miles from his residence, and I used to drive 2 or 3 times a week just to see him and be able to be near him and to be able to touch him. And in today's world, we wouldn't have been able to do that. We would have had to have done something like this. But those moments when we were able to be close to the teacher were moments of great exaltation and great joy. And it is through him that we came onto the path of Sufism and learned about this path of love and this path of God's qualities. His teachings brought us into a sphere where we had never been before. The world is a difficult place. The world doesn't necessarily tell you the truth. The world doesn't necessarily know the truth. And to be able to find someone within the world who knows and tells the truth is a very rare occurrence, and one that we should always be thankful for. The fact that we have been able to be brought into a place where the truth is told and where we are brought in front of reality is a rare occurrence and one that is to be celebrated. Allah has 99 names and 3,000 gracious qualities. And it is up to us to learn those names and to learn the meanings of those names and the meanings of those qualities. Now, all of us know that we need to integrate those names into our being. We need to integrate the meaning of those names into our being. Rahman and Rahim need to be integrated into our being. Patience needs to be integrated. Mercy needs to be integrated. Compassion needs to be integrated. But in addition to these qualities, we all have emotions. And these emotions come and go at different times and have influences on our being. Now, we've all heard the saying of the 99 beautiful names of God. We've never heard anybody say the 99 beautiful emotions of God. Now, there's a reason. God isn't emotional. God is centered and consistent. There's a story about a man who was riding in a horse-drawn carriage. This is in the 1800s. And he was traveling from one town to another. And the driver stopped to have lunch at a local restaurant. And while he was there, he also had a few drinks. When he got back onto the carriage to drive, he lost control of the horses, and the horses just sort of ran off. And imagine the passenger sitting in the carriage who has these uncontrolled horses pulling him. He's in a difficult situation. This story describes emotions and what happens when we become emotional. We are like this runaway horse, and we're out of control. We're being pulled out of control. We are an elemental body, and we're made up of the same elements that we see in the world, the same elements that our vision beholds as we look at creation. However, in creation, we see various things occurring. We can be in a moment when everything is incredibly pleasant, the temperature is fine, the wind is not howling, everything is quiet. But then there are moments when we see the elements erupt. We've all seen torrential rain. We've all seen hurricanes. We've all seen or heard of weather events that are extraordinary. We've all seen volcanoes go off, if not close, at least on the news. We've all seen the elemental world go into severe acts of violence, severe acts of weather, severe acts like a tsunami, where the normal course of things changes dramatically, and there is a result from this change that is very overwhelming and upsets everything. Well, our emotional self is very much similar to what goes on when the weather and the elements outside of ourselves are out of control. We are capable of being a tornado inside of ourselves. When our elements react violently, we are capable of being a hurricane. We are capable of being a tornado. We are capable of being all of these things. And that's when we lose control of our center and allow our elemental self, our body, to go wild. We have to be careful that we don't allow this to happen. And when it does, we have to figure out ways to control ourselves so that it doesn't happen again. So we should know that emotions come and go, but the center of things, God's qualities, don't come and go. They are consistent and they stay in place, and they are at the center of all things, and they are real. Our emotional ups and downs are not real, but mercy and compassion are real. So when we go through a fit of anger, we've lost control of ourselves. When we go through a fit of jealousy or hastiness or any of the qualities that don't belong to Allah, we have lost control of our true self. And we have to figure out how to bring ourselves back into control. And we can do it. We have to believe that we can do it, and we have to believe that we're capable of doing it. Right now, we are in the month of Ramadan, and Ramadan in Islam is considered a time of fasting from food, and from dawn to sunset, man isn't supposed to eat. And this is for a lot of different reasons, but one of them is so that we can feel the hunger of others, that we can begin to feel the difficulties of others. But if we cannot fast from anger, or fast from jealousy, or fast from any of Satan's qualities. Allah doesn't need us to fast from food. It's more important that we become free of all of the qualities that keep us separated from the unity of existence than just fasting from food. So as we fast, we should also be considering simultaneously that it is also our responsibility during this holy month, not just to fast from food, but to fast from all of the qualities that don't belong to Allah. And now that we are isolated, as we are, we can become more cognizant of our relationship with Allah's qualities and the qualities that aren't Allah's. And this takes a constant watching by ourselves of our state and a readjustment of our state to bring our state in line with Allah's reality, with Haqq, with the qualities that are God. Now, we live in this space that we call the earth, the dunya. We live in this world. However, while we are in this world, other worlds exist simultaneously with this world that we can't see. Allah comes and is in a world where there is no form. We live in a world that has form. So the formless world, Allah's world, exists simultaneously that this form world, this illusory world, exists. We have to grasp that the real world is not this world that we see, but the formless world of Allah. And that is a great leap in understanding. That is a great leap in the way we view our life and the way we view our surroundings. If we, as we travel through this world of dimension and of elemental form, are cognizant that there exists a non-elemental world simultaneously, we have made progress towards the straight path and towards finding the truth. Now, how do we tune in to this non-elemental world? How do we tune in to this world that is outside of the elemental dimensions that we live in, that we're used to, and that we look for our sustenance? We do it through concentrating on qualities that we know that exist, but we also know don't have form. And we need to be able to concentrate on these qualities to the point where they come and become the forefront of our consciousness. Now, we have consciousness that's capable of many different ways of seeing things, interpreting things, and being. Our consciousness is not just what our mind thinks. Our consciousness is the state of our being. And the state of our being alters and changes dependent on the qualities that we exhibit at this moment in time. The qualities that we exhibit as we walk through this world of illusion. There are many influences on our consciousness. One of the strongest influences on our consciousness is our bank of memories. All of the things that we remember influence what we do now. All of the experiences that we've had in the past influence what we do now. They're constantly pouring in on us as directives as to how things are, how things should be, how we are, and how we should be. What happens is, if we take all that we have learned over all of the years of our lives and we allow it to filter into and direct our moments now, we aren't living in the present. We're living in a time that is connected to our past and that's influenced by our past. One of the things that I began to understand when I was with my teacher was I had to give up everything that I knew previously. I had to give up every idea that I held that was sacred. I had to be ready to move into an entirely new understanding of things, which was not attached to my past or what I had learned. I had to have the courage to step into the open space of the unknown, to step into an area where I allowed new experiences to come before me and to be able to view them without a prejudiced eye from my past. This is not an easy thing to do because we have all of the influences of our parents, our teachers, our friends, our religion that have been guiding us in a certain direction. Even though they may not know the truth, they believe what they had been told was the truth, and they convey it without any personal knowledge of whether it's real or not. They just convey it. And that's how the world moves forward. When the prophet came to new people, one of the reactions to him was always, why do we need a new way? We have the way of our forefathers, we have the way of our parents, and that's good enough for me. We don't need anything new. Well, look at your life and examine your existence and examine what it is that moves you and takes you forward in this world. What do you really know? How much do you really know? How much do you understand about where we came from, where we're going to, and why we're here? Who answered those questions for you when they were presented? Who seemed to have an inkling as to how to answer those questions? When we go on this path, we go because we have gotten to the point in our life where we've entered a level of consciousness that begins to ask, is this animal life that I'm living all there is, or is there more to existence than eating, finding shelter, procreating, creating a household, and working? Is there more to life than that? And for all of us, we've concluded there is more, and we'd like to know what that is. Now, how can we get to the place where those answers exist? And the way that we do that is to let go of the past and bring ourselves into this moment without attachments to our memories or to our previous learning and our previous influences. This is the act of surrendering all that we were to all that we can be. Surrender is a very important word here. It means to give up the past, to give up the old learning, but it also means to take on a new understanding and a new learning and a new attitude and a new way of being. Most worldly understandings are based on differences. Most worldly understanding are based on the world being separated into sections. My race, my religion, your religion, my country, your country. And each of these setting up a difference between yourself and the rest of humanity. We need to figure out how to do away with these differences and enter into an area where unity exists. Allah, God, is in the heart of every one of his creations. And since he is in the heart of every one of his creations, we are all connected because we are connected to him, through him, by him. But somehow we seem to miss this point. And for some reason, and each of us can explain this for ourselves, differences are important to us before we learn the truth. Differences somehow separate us from the rest of humanity and make us more important. And if we didn't have those differences, we couldn't be more important. If we saw ourselves as the same, then there would be a certain equality and unity. But the egocentric self is not happy with that. The egocentric self wants to be separated and made more important, wants to be separated and elevated above everything and everybody else. And to do this, we need differences. We need reasons why we're better. And the reasons come in droves. They come easily to us. We're better because we are of the chosen religion. We're better because God favors us. We're better because God favors this religion. And whatever religion you're in, within a short period of time after entering in the religion will tell you that this religion is favored over every other religion. And if you're going to move forward in God's way and in God's world, you have to be in this religion. A very important understanding comes from the question, is there a favored people? Is there a favored religion? Is there a chosen group that God has elevated above all other groups? And the answer to this question is yes, there is. But the understanding is what really throws everything into a different way of understanding. The ones who choose God, the ones who choose Allah, God chooses them back, and they become the chosen people. So, do you choose your religion or do you choose God? Can you get to the essence of this, or do you need the framework before you can get to the essence? Do you need all the accoutrements of the religion? Do you need the hat in a certain way? Do you need the costume in a certain way? Are all of these things important? Or can you strip away all the externalities and come down to a relationship between man and God and choose that relationship without the externalities? When the prophets came, each of them was teaching one thing: the relationship between man and God. But as the prophets left their time on this earth, their teachings became something other than just the relationship between man and God. They became a religion, they became a group, they became a club, they became a sect, they became something that differentiated us from other people. In Sufism, we acknowledge the fallacy in differences. We acknowledge the fallacy in separation. And we come to the point and the conclusion that everything that separates me from other men also separates me from God. And this is at the crux of the understanding. All of these separations that you think elevate us, in fact, hold us in place in this illusory world and don't allow us to get closer to God. So as long as we hold on to these separations, we are separating ourselves from the truth. As long as we hold on to these separations, we are separating ourselves from reality. We have created a construct that has nothing to do with reality. We've created a construct that separates us from reality. We've created a construct that maybe gives us some temporary comfort in this illusory world, but it doesn't give us the truth. And in order to find reality, we have to do away with all our elemental constructs. We have to do away with all of our elemental ideas. We have to do away with almost everything, to the point where we're moving towards doing away with everything. We do away with our past, we do away with our future, and we put ourselves in this moment when Allah exists, and that is all that there is. And we are no longer pulled and pushed by that which is part of this elemental illusory world, where we are no longer dragged by this illusory elemental world, where we are no longer influenced by this illusory elemental world. The great lie in this world is that the elemental world can give you satisfaction, that the elemental world can somehow fulfill what you're looking for. And to understand this lie, just look at advertising. The whole point of advertising is to convince you that you need certain things in the marketplace, and by obtaining these things in the marketplace, somehow your life will become better and your life will improve. Well, your life will become better and your life will improve when you rid yourselves of all of these influences, when we tear them away from us to the point that we can get to the essence of things. And we have to remember that the essence of things is non-elemental, that the essence of things can't be weighed and can't be measured and can't be seen with these eyes. The essence of things exists simultaneously with this illusory world, but is separate from it because it doesn't have form and it doesn't have substance. And even though we have form and we have substance, elemental substance in our lives, the truth is that this form and substance will dissipate and disappear and is only temporary. And we need to prepare ourselves for the time when we also will be non-elemental. And we need to prepare ourselves for the time when this body will disappear. And if we don't spend time in our life preparing ourselves for this eventuality, when that eventuality happens, we're not going to be prepared. And this will have influence on our eternal existence. But if we are free of the elements, if we are free of the need for the elements, if we are free from the desire of the elements, if we are free from all of the various lusts that exist in this world, we become free to go to that open space that exists simultaneously with this space. The meditation at the core of Sufism is La ilaha illallah. Nothing exists but God. I do not exist. Only God exists. But that meditation cannot ring true for us as long as we have great attachment to the elemental world. So we have to practice giving up this attachment to the elemental world. We have to give up the need to get praise from this elemental world. We have to give up the need to somehow be attached to various different things within the world. And what the prophets told man was that idols are prohibited, but idols are not just in the form of statues. Idols are in the form of anything that you hold more dear than you hold the non-elemental God, the God without form. If you hold money more dear than God, you can't truly say La ilaha illallah. If you hold fame or lust or sex or any of the things that are in this elemental world more dear than you hold your relationship with Allah, you can't say La ilaha illallah and be truly into that moment. So meditation consists of not only repeating the phrases that take us close to reality, it consists of letting go of the world while we say those phrases. So we have to set up an internal intention that releases ourselves from all of the chains that bind us to various aspects of this elemental world. And we have to figure out how to do it for ourselves. Help will come when we are ready for help. One of the basic understandings is when you're ready for a teacher will come to you, and a teacher will bring you towards the truth. And when that happens, you have to attach to that teacher. My teacher was Bawa Muhaiyaddeen, and he was consistent in his detachment from the world. He was consistent in his lack of being influenced by the world. He stayed centered, and he was able to tell the truth without self-motive. And self-motive is something we all have to think about, and we all have to understand. Self-motive is that instinct that each of us have to protect ourselves from blame, to protect ourselves from criticism, to protect ourselves from anything that we feel makes us uncomfortable. As long as we are busy trying to protect ourselves from all of these things, we're not capable of letting go of everything and finding this place that is in the moment without an influence from the past and without the magnetic pulls and pushes of this illusory world. So magnets are attracted to steel. We have magnetic centers within us that are attracted to illusion and attracted to the illusory world. We have to give up that attraction. We have to let go of being attracted to all of the glitters that the world throws at us and tries to influence us by. So what we need to be able to do is go to the core of things. Go to the core of things that is at the essence of everything. We have to be able to let go of all of the trimmings. We have to be able to let go of all of the things from the illusory world that make us comfortable. For instance, when you walk into a mosque, a beautiful mosque, or a beautiful church, or a beautiful synagogue, there's a certain comfort that's given to you because of the majesty of the surroundings. But that's elemental majesty. You should understand that the non-elemental grace is greater than any elemental majesty that can be made. There is a beauty to Allah's light that is beyond comparison from any elemental structure or elemental sign in this world. We have to be able to move towards that and away from finding satisfaction within this world. Somehow, we have to be able to do that. And one of the ways is to repeat, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. I do not exist, only God exists. I do not exist, only God exists. All my memories are of temporary situations. All of my thoughts deal with the world of illusion. All of my ideas are about the illusory world. None of my thoughts from my mind are capable of understanding the grandeur and the majesty of what God is. So we have to give them up. And as we give them up, we can go into that state that is detached, unattached, and not part of this illusory world. And that's how we cross this ocean of illusion. We cross it by letting go of it. We cross it by decreasing the importance that we give it. And this happens a little bit at a time. You can't be rid of all of your desires instantaneously. You can't be rid of all of your desires by blinking and saying they're gone. They've developed in us over a lifetime, and it's going to take a long time to get rid of them. They're part of our cellular being. They exist within every part of us. And to let go of them, we have to truly focus on reality, truly focus on Allah. Ramadan is a wonderful example because the main attraction or the main discipline during Ramadan is food. And I've traveled to Islamic countries and I've traveled to the holy cities, Mecca and Medina, and I've been there during Ramadan. And I found some interesting things. I found that in the Middle East, during Ramadan, most people sleep the entire day. I found that they eat all night. I found that they gain weight during Ramadan, which is supposed to be a month of fasting. I found that they've taken the tenets of Ramadan and tried to adhere to the letter of the law, but have somehow missed the intent of the whole thing very often. And what we need to do is focus on the intention. And the intention is, as we give up food, to give up all of our attachments to this world in an all-encompassing way, not just in a narrow way. And in doing that, we can find our place in reality. And that place in reality is available to each and every one of us. That place in reality has been reserved for each and every one of us. It is Allah's intention for us that we end up in reality. And that's why he sent prophets and ketubs and helpers to explain this to humanity, to allow them to move forward into reality. Allah, we ask of you to open up our hearts and allow us to see the truth. We ask of you to take us out of our minds and take us into our hearts where we can sense and perceive the truth of existence and not be clouded by the illusory nature of our thoughts. Allah, break open our attachments to the world, decrease our need for sustenance from the world, and increase our need for sustenance from you. Allow us to understand that the only truth in existence is the truth that we live with you in disappearing into you. Allow us to understand that we were created as a mystery within you and to discover the self that exists within our Lord. It is in this way that we can become real human beings. There is no other way that we can do this. And we need to focus and stay focused in this way towards the truth. May it come to each of us. May we all be opened up so that the light of the Lord and the light of creation and the light of the Nur and all of existence enters into our heart. And as we walk through this world, we become radiations of that light, manifestations of that light, the truth in existence. May we become that truth through knowing that truth, through God allowing us to enter into that place. God, we wish to be among the lovers. We wish to be among the ones who you bring close to you. Take us to that place, O Lord. Allah, bring us close to you so that we may understand reality. Ameen, ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.